You ever look at a woman's social media and realize she's not talking to the world, she's confessing to it? Every post is a cry for validation wrapped in a quote about healing. Every selfie is an audition for attention. And the worst part, you can feel it, that quiet panic behind the filter. That's not confidence, that's collapse. Men used to wonder what women really wanted. Now, they're telling us publicly every single day. And what they're revealing isn't empowerment, it's exhaustion. Years of emotional debt, broken boundaries, and trauma they expect you to clean up. They don't want love, they want relief. The modern dating game flipped. Not find a partner, but find a therapist with abs. Not build something real, but fix what every ex destroyed. They call it self-awareness, but it's just emotional outsourcing. They think they're being honest. They're actually showing men exactly why good guys are walking away. So ask yourself, are you dating her or the ghosts of everyone who came before you? Because once you see the truth behind the soft girl era, the affirmations, and the trauma talks, you'll realize it's not love men are running from. It's the invoice that comes with it. Scroll through TikTok long enough and you'll see it. Not empowerment, not confidence, but confession. Tapes disguised as content. Clips of women bragging about cheating for emotional balance. Story times about how they finessed a man for a vacation. Podcasts where body counts are trophies and manipulation is self-awareness. It's not authenticity, it's exposure. And every post drives another nail into the coffin of trust between men and women. 20 years ago, this kind of talk would have ended reputations. Now it gets millions of views and a flood of yes queen comments. The message is clear. Being broken isn't something to fix anymore, it's something to monetize. Pain gets more likes than peace. Victimhood pays better than accountability. They're not hiding their flaws, they're performing them. The internet turned dysfunction into a brand. Boundaries became excuses to manipulate. High standards turned into a checklist for entitlement. Soft girl era turned into, please fix me marketing. They call it honesty. But it's strategy social validation dressed as vulnerability. Because this isn't about connection, it's about competition. Who can cry the loudest, post the boldest, expose the most? Every healing era post, every toxic but fun trend, every quote about choosing peace while living in chaos. It's not growth, it's exposure, not confession, but performance, not empowerment, but exhaustion, pretending to be power. I saw a clip yesterday, a woman, maybe 30, divorced, 2 kids. She said her new boyfriend needs to heal her trauma from her ex. And thousands of women cheered her on, as if trauma were a bill, and men were the bank expected to pay it off. That's not love. That's emotional taxation without representation. Men are starting to see it. They're realizing they're not dating one woman, they're inheriting years of emotional debt collected from every man who came before them. Debt from poor choices, from broken trust, from chasing attention instead of intimacy. And when you point that out, you're suddenly insecure, afraid of strong women, or emotionally unavailable. But here's the truth. Men aren't running from women. They're running from the cost. Because when chaos becomes content, accountability disappears. When brokenness becomes branding, real connection dies. Modern dating isn't collapsing because men stopped caring. It's collapsing because women started broadcasting exactly what men should avoid. So how did we get here? How did modern dating turn into a graveyard of broken trust and emotional debt? It started when attention became the new currency, and women learned to spend it like it was endless. The casual sex era promised freedom, but it delivered bankruptcy. What was sold as liberation became emotional foreclosure. In their 20s, many women mistook attention for affection, lust for love, and validation for value. They traded intimacy for Instagram clout, thinking it wouldn't cost them. But every transaction had interest, and now the bill is due. Each situationship that fell apart, each fling that left scars, each "it's just for fun" encounter carved out a little more of their ability to actually bond. They gave their best years to men who never planned to stay. And now they want commitment from men who watched it happen. Not freedom, but fatigue. Not empowerment, but emptiness dressed as confidence. Here's the painful truth. The human heart isn't built for endless rotation. Every time you treat love like a hobby, you train your brain to stop believing in it. You can't spend a decade chasing dopamine hits from random attention and then suddenly crave peace. Your system won't recognize it. That's why so many women can't stay satisfied. Not because there aren't good men left, but because they've burned out their emotional receptors, and it gets darker. Instead of slowing down, the culture doubled down. Social media became an echo chamber, convincing women that the damage was growth, that trauma was experience, that bitterness was boundaries. They were told, "You don't need to change, men just can't handle you." That's not therapy, that's marketing. Meanwhile, men kept watching the self-love posts that sound more like confessionals, watching women complain about being tired of dating while rejecting accountability. And quietly, men started stepping back, not out of hate, but out of self-preservation. Because when every love story begins with someone else's baggage, the ending is already written. You can't build a future with someone still living in their past. And yet, that's the modern pattern: emotional debt stacking up, generation after generation. The result: an entire dating culture built on trauma, validation, and denial. A marketplace where intimacy is cheap, connection is rare, and peace is priceless. Men didn't break dating. They just stopped pretending it wasn't already broken. Here's where it gets dangerous, because the damage doesn't just stay inside them, it spills over. And when it does, it lands on the men who had nothing to do with it. You meet a woman who seems amazing, smart, funny, beautiful. At first, she's soft, affectionate, almost too good to be true. Then, the tests start. The harmless arguments that appear out of nowhere. The sudden emotional breakdowns when you set a boundary. The guilt trips disguised as communication. You're not dating her, you're auditioning for the role of therapist with benefits. And here's the trick: she's not trying to love you. She's trying to see if you'll fix her. If you won't, she'll call you emotionally unavailable. If you do, you become her emotional janitor, forever cleaning up messes you didn't make. Not partnership, but repair work. Not romance, but rehabilitation. That's the new dating dynamic. It's subtle manipulation dressed as vulnerability. Trauma dumping early to create sympathy. Oversharing pain to get emotional leverage. Calling chaos passion so you won't leave. They say, "If you can't handle my trauma, you don't deserve me." Translation: I want a man who'll carry my damage so I don't have to. And men are finally realizing what that really means. You're not her boyfriend, you're her insurance policy against accountability. But it doesn't stop there. She punishes you for things you never did. You don't text back fast enough. Triggered, you hang out with friends. Triggered, you say no. Suddenly, you're controlling, toxic, or just like her ex, you're not competing with one man, you're competing with the ghost of every man who hurt her. That's emotional taxation without representation. You're expected to pay off the debt, but you don't even get a vote in how the relationship works. The worst part, society tells you this is being a good man. Be patient, be understanding, be her rock. No one tells you that rocks drown too when they try to save someone who refuses to swim. So men stop trying. They stop rescuing. Because the moment you realize her pain has become your prison, You finally understand you were never loved for who you are, only for what you could repair. Men are waking up. They're learning to walk away, not out of bitterness, but out of survival. Because the truth is simple: love isn't therapy, and a relationship isn't a recovery program. You don't owe anyone healing you didn't cause. Men are finally waking up, not bitter, not broken, just done playing a game that was rigged against them. For years, guys were told they were the problem: not romantic enough, not emotional enough, not patient enough. But look closer. Every time a man steps up, the goalpost moves. Now you're expected to be her therapist, her ATM, her emotional sponge, and smile while doing it. That's not love. That's labor. And men are realizing they've been working overtime in relationships that don't pay peace. The truth is, men aren't walking away from women. They're walking away from debt, not emotional connection, but emotional taxation. Not intimacy, but interrogation. Not partnership, but punishment for sins they never committed. Social media pulled the curtain back. The highlight reels turned into horror films. Every post about high standards, every quote about healing energy, every video bragging about how men can't handle real women, it all revealed the same truth. The mask is off, and what's underneath isn't empowerment, it's entitlement. That's the shift happening right now. Men are no longer chasing validation. They're choosing peace. They're not asking, "What do women want?" anymore. They're asking, "What do I want?" Because once you see the pattern, you can't unsee it. Once you understand the game, you stop playing it. And that's what terrifies modern dating culture: men who stop participating in their own exploitation. Here's the irony. Women spent years saying they wanted strong men. Now that men are showing strength by setting standards, by walking away, by saying no, those same women call it toxicity. It's not toxic, it's truth with boundaries. The good men aren't gone. They're just unavailable to chaos. They're not hiding, they're filtering. Choosing solitude over sabotage, choosing discipline over dysfunction, choosing peace over performance. And here's the twist. It's not that men stopped loving women. It's that they started loving themselves enough to stop being collateral damage. So when you hear women ask, "Where did all the good men go?" the answer's simple. They didn't disappear. They just stopped paying the emotional rent for someone else's mess. They're not gone. They're free. So where do men go from here? You've seen the game. You've watched the highlight reels of dysfunction, the trauma packaged as empowerment, the entitlement disguised as confidence. Now it's time to stop reacting and start leading. The answer isn't to hate women. It's to filter them, to stop confusing availability with value, to stop mistaking attention for affection. Because peace isn't found in fixing broken people, it's found in refusing to be broken with them. You need standards, not slogans. Rules, not reactions. Because men without boundaries get buried under other people's baggage. Here's what that looks like in real life. If she leads with trauma, not accountability, walk away. If she flaunts validation instead of values, walk away. If she thinks healing means you doing her emotional homework, walk away. You don't owe her therapy. You owe yourself peace. This isn't cold. It's clarity. Being kind doesn't mean being used. Empathy without discernment is how strong men get drained. Men need to start flipping the script. For decades, dating was run by female standards. What do you bring to the table? What can you offer me? What are you willing to tolerate? Now, it's time to reverse that. Ask yourself the questions. Does she bring peace or problems? Does she add to your mission or distract from it? Does she respect your time or treat it like a free service? If she's not adding, she's subtracting. And a man with purpose doesn't finance chaos. Because here's the reality. Women respect boundaries more than begging. They might complain about a man with standards, but they crave the stability he brings. You teach people how to treat you by what you tolerate. So stop tolerating emotional debt. Stop accepting disrespect disguised as independence. Stop paying for damage you didn't cause. Modern dating isn't about chasing. It's about choosing. Choosing where your time, energy, and effort go, because those are the new currencies men can't afford to waste. It's not your job to fix a woman. It's your job to build a life worth protecting. And only a woman who's handled her own pain deserves a place in it. The men who get this will thrive. The ones who don't will keep becoming emotional janitors for women who call it healing. Don't be her project. Be her standard. Because when you raise your standards, something powerful happens. Chaos stops calling. The same women who once laughed at nice guys start calling them mature. The same voices that mocked discipline start craving it. That's not luck. That's leadership. So, choose peace over pity, purpose over validation, boundaries over burnout. And if that means standing alone for a while, good. Solitude isn't loneliness, it's strength without noise. Men don't need to disappear. They just need to decide. Decide that their time, energy, and emotional sanity are sacred. Because when you stop paying emotional rent for someone else's trauma, you start living rent-free in your own peace. The truth's out now. There's no mystery left, no veil, no mask, no illusion. Women showed the world who they are not. Through words, but through actions. And men finally started listening with their eyes instead of their ears. This isn't hate, it's awareness. Because once you see the pattern, you can't unsee it. Every post about boundaries, every quote about healing energy, every "if he can't handle me at my worst" speech, it's all a confession, wrapped in a hashtag. And for the first time in decades, men have the receipts. You don't need to decode what she means. Just watch what she does. If her life's a highlight reel of chaos and validation addiction, believe her. If every ex was a villain, but she's always the victim, believe that too. People reveal their truth long before they admit it. Modern dating isn't a mystery anymore. It's a market correction. For years, men paid premium prices for what was being given away for free. Now, the cleanup crew is closed. The rehab center is shut down. Men are no longer volunteers in someone else's emotional recovery program. Here's the hard truth. You can't save someone who enjoys drowning, and you can't build a future with someone still fighting ghosts from the past. That's not love, that's emotional debt disguised as destiny. So, what do you do with this information? You recognize the signs. You set the boundaries. You walk away when the red flags wave, not when the damage is done. You protect your peace like it's the last asset you own, because in today's dating world, it is. The game has changed, and pretending it hasn't will destroy you. Men who keep paying for emotional debt will end up broke, not financially, but mentally. Men who demand accountability will build real partnerships, not projects. So to every man listening, you deserve better than someone's leftover chaos. You deserve peace that doesn't come with conditions. You deserve love that doesn't feel like labor. Stop accepting pain as the price of connection. Stop being loyal to dysfunction. Start being loyal to yourself. And to the women watching who feel angry, that's the mirror talking. If this doesn't apply to you, it shouldn't hurt you. But if it does, maybe it's time to stop blaming men for noticing what you're broadcasting. Fix the debt before expecting someone else to pay it. Because the wall doesn't care about feelings. Time doesn't care about affirmations. And biology doesn't negotiate. The truth is out. The game's exposed. And the future, it belongs to the men who stopped apologizing for having standards. So tell your story. Drop your experience in the comments. Because every time a man speaks up, another man realizes he's not alone. and that's how the cleanup crew stays closed for good.